my God, we're live. And I'm being bitten to death. Jesus Christ. Uh, I know it was warm yesterday, so I decided to put on some shorts. Jesus Christ, just standing here. I'm being bitten to death by midges. Christ on the bike, I should have worn some trousers. So, good morning, one and all. I know that we haven't got anyone here yet, but as you know, we've got someone. So, we've got 3 people now. So we've got people joining in. You're joining me through this lovely walk through the woods this morning, down along the canal. Hi there from David. So this is just a bit of an impromptu stream. Even though my microphone has arrived, I generally completely forgot about bringing it. So no microphone today, but I do have it. Oh, good morning from the Netherlands there, from Henk, I think that was. So yeah, you're joining me on a very uncomfortable walk today because I decided to wear. I decided I'd go for an early morning walk. Like I said, this wasn't planned. You're at the beach. Well, you've certainly got a good spot for it, I can tell you that. But you're probably not like me. I'm wearing shorts today. Hang on, we'll just get a view of my legs. And yeah, literally, Christ on the bike. The forest I'm walking through is full of midges. So currently I can literally feel my legs being feasted upon by midges. I know what a drumstick feels like today. So I can feel my legs being feasted upon. But yes, good morning to everyone. Good morning. I don't know what I was going to talk about today, but this is just a random. I just thought I'd random stream, and I'm sure people will suggest topics to them throughout the stream. David has kindly put forward the first topic for us today. We're going to talk about Stephen Yaxley Lennon. There we go. AKA Tommy Robinson. My God, this is honestly what happened to Robinson, or shall we say Lennon, this week was an absolute. It was like Christmas, birthday, New Year, you name your celebration. It was like all those rolled into one. And quite frankly, it's not surprising that Tommy Robinson has become a refugee, apparently, after years of deriding and going after refugees for doing the exact same thing. Oh, hang on. Oh, Christ. We've got some ponies in the ponies on the bridge. Oh, Christ. Oh, yep, they're following me. I'll have to keep an eye on these because these guys are known to be a bit of troublemakers. So if I suddenly have to jump into the bushes, it's because that they've decided to just start dashing through. So I'm going to have to be just a bit careful with them in the background. Just keep an eye on them just in case. But yeah, Tommy Robinson, this is so funny because he spent years complaining about how refugees were like continuously coming over here, taking people's jobs, you name it. And one of the big things that he used to say was that they were cowards for running away and not supporting their country in a time of crisis. And yet here we have Robinson running away from his country in a time of crisis. But of course, it's Tommy Robinson. So of course, this is just caked in complete lies. It's just another layer cake upon layer cake. The real reason why Robinson is running to Spain and refusing to share his location, and refusing to share his location with anyone, is because lawyers are after him. Yes, some of you may remember, was it last year, the year before now? You may remember the case of the young Syrian boy who was basically being filmed waterboarded. And it was an absolute, to be honest, travesty. And of course, Robinson was massively on side of the bullies, which should surprise no one. And of course, Robinson said some very untrue things about the boy, most of which are going to be settled in court. They're apparently meant to be suing him for a rather substantial sum. And there is a lot of people who think that he's not going to be able to pay that money. But you've got to bear in mind, Tommy Robinson has a lot of, well, idiot supporters who will, of course, fund him to the hilt, regardless of whatever the situation he might be in. He's a complete grifter. And you have the situation of he's being sued for a rather substantial amount of money. So his idea, his theory is that somehow he's going to run to Spain and he's still going to campaign in the UK, but from what we've heard, we don't know if he's going to apply for Spanish citizenship. But I tell you now, if the authorities turn him down, if that happens, my word, that'll be such a juicy day. That'll be such a juicy, tear-filled, nourishing day. It really will. So he's done a runner, refusing to say where he is because, the lawyers are after him. They've got to serve him papers. However, that's not going to help because sooner or later he has to register an address, and the lawyers will be after him. He can't hide from the law, Tommy. They will come for you. I'm reminded of the song Bad Boys, what they're going to do when they come for you. Yeah, you are right. He needs at least 1 year minimum of living there. He's just moved. He's barely going to meet the requirements. In fact, he's not even going to meet the requirements. It's not even a case of will he or won't he. Probably won't meet the requirements. So expect in a couple of, maybe early next year. Guten Morgen. Expect early next year that this guy is going to be crying on camera that he and his family have been deported back to a country where he feels his life is no longer safe. And let's get, before we move on to that, let's just finish off with the last bit of very, very juicy information. So if you do not know, if someone's suing you, the level that you can be sued at is based on how much of your estate is owned. Now, very interestingly, Robinson said in his last video where he talked about this, that it was his wife's property. That's interesting, because up until recently, that was always, he always talked about like it was his, that he owned it. Now, if it's his wife's name, that means that the property can't be added to the total amount of that he's being sued for, which makes it very interesting because Robinson is now trying to shall we say, shift. It wouldn't surprise me that he's shifting some of his assets off to the wife to try and make sure that he doesn't get sued for as much as he normally would, as he's being expecting to be sued for. Not surprisingly. So that's one thing. The other thing is there's the lie that he's been told. Oh, we're back again. Oh, there's just a brief drop out there. So you'd think that if Robinson was telling the truth about this, there would be news reports, you name it, all over the place about his arson. Robinson would be about on this non-stop, that the left was coming to get him. They were trying to kill him and his family. It's not even the case. Bedfordshire police do not have a report of arson. So once again, grifting Tommy Robinson caught in a lie. And this all comes back to, it's a massive grift attempt, because he knows that lawyers are after him to serve him papers that he's being sued, and it is, from all intents and purposes that we've seen, he's going to lose. And from what we've seen, he is going to lose big. Supposedly, again, this is just stuff that we've heard through the grapevine, so don't take this as gospel. Apparently they've placed his YouTube channel, his Patreon. Well, he doesn't have a Patreon, but a lot of the income that he's getting, he's being sued on as well. So it seems that Robinson at the moment is going on an absolute funding bonanza to try and get as much money as he possibly can into his coffers, or shall we say his wife's coffers, so that when he does lose, he doesn't end up penniless. And quite frankly, that's hilarious. The true icing on the cake, and I mean the true icing on the cake, would be if Robinson's wife had decided to up and divorce him and she took everything. Like, I know that seems a bit cruel, but you know, it's Robinson. I'm sorry, but you know, I have no sympathy for the man, and no one else does. But that would be hilarious if his wife just ups and leaves and just takes everything with her. Because it's like I say, if he's doing this tactic of shifting everything into his wife's name, then all she needs to do is just up and leave and divorce him, and she owns everything. You know? Oh, who is suing him and why? Sorry, I didn't see that. You may have heard or remember last year there was a case of a Syrian boy in the UK who he'd been filmed being basically waterboarded by essentially a bunch of bullies, and Robinson decided to take the side of the bullies and started spouting myriad untruths, essentially about a 14-year-old boy who had a broken arm. Also because I think, did he get it because he'd been bullied as well because of that, or did he just have an accident? I can't remember now. But yeah, so he's being sued by that boy's parents for essentially telling lies about the boy. And it's none too surprising that Robinson's in a bit of a pickle. So that's why he's really running to Spain. He's running to try and avoid a lawsuit, which quite frankly is absolutely hilarious. So it's just absolutely unbelievable. But yeah, that's that's Robinson essentially running to Spain. There you go. It's a bit unbelievable. Sorry for the wind. Like I say, I do actually have my new microphone, but I haven't brought it with me today because this was just a bit of a impromptu stream of it. Do I think the police should come and capture him? Well, depends on. Well, it depends if he doesn't turn up for the suit. But first of all, they've got to actually find him and actually put the papers in his hands first. And that's what, again, that's a big part of why he's doing a runner to Spain. Oh, we got a beagle. Oh, morning. Got a random beagle joining us on on stream there. Thumbs up for the beagle, by the way. And that's the big thing. If Robinson thinks that he can just do a runner to Spain, it's unbelievable. That thinks that he can somehow get away with it. Absolutely not. The guy's going to be, you know, pretty much hunted down. But interestingly enough, obviously, as you know, we are leaving the EU at the end of the year. If this has all been an elaborate plot to try and get asylum membership, which might actually be part of this plan, if he's doing it and saying, you know, my life is under threat, and he might be trying to get an asylum membership, which I think then, if I believe, changes the game for him, because then you've got lots of different ideas then that could happen, because then you've talked about he could, you know, he needs a year's thing. But what if he applies for asylum in Spain and uses the quote arson to justify the whole thing? Will he grow a beard and put an accent? Well, that'll be funny. Lucky police. oh my word! Could you imagine the sheer salty tears that man would cry if that happened? Like, I'm being deported to you know, North Africa. I'm being deported to Tunisia. Oh my word! Oh, you know, you guys are getting my hopes up. I'm not gonna lie, you're getting my hopes up. What could happen to Robinson? So, you know, we'll we'll try and not fantasize too much about what could happen to Mr. T on this occasion. But we can but dream. We can but dare to dream about what is happening to this guy. And oh my word, that let the salt run forth, let it run dry. So there, I'm just waiting because people are going through, and there's a dog walker ahead of me. So so anyway, we shall continue on. Jump over that. Ugh. One problem about ponies on tiny paths: they do like to leave massive dumps. Ugh. So, like I said, this is sort of an impromptu stream. So, anyone has any topics they'd like me to discuss about, I'm more than happy to do today. Like I say, this was a massive, just impromptu stream of literally last minute. Like I say, I have got my microphone. as I was saying last stream, I'd ordered it then. It's arrived, but I thought I wouldn't do a stream when I went out today, and then I got halfway around my walk and I thought, you know what, I'll do a stream. So I do apologise for the wind. Hopefully, when we've got the mic in, that will sort out the stream. You just coming on the Salt Run Dry? Oh, we're talking. Well, you've just missed out on our little talk about Tommy Robinson and his probably eventual crying of what's going to happen. So there was someone who posted his name's Siberia. Yeah, he's sort of, like I said, the irony, especially of him running to Spain, especially based on what he was saying and been saying for years about immigrants. The guy is going to be losing, no friends when he leaves here. Let me tell you that. I think a lot of people in the UK are fed up of him, to be honest. But like I say, if anyone's got any topics they want me to talk about or discuss, I'm more than happy to. Because like I say, I had no plans for this stream at all. Maybe we'll just have a morning stream of consciousness. Like, let's make a top 10 list to send Tommy Robinson. You know what would be really funny? Sending him to South Africa. Then he can complain with all the other white apartheid crybabies that are out there, going, why aren't we being treated like we used to? Oh, someone submitted a question there, I didn't see that. How long will Boris last? Well, Bakura 23, you might not know about this, but I have what I call my three Boris lot, and there's what I call the first date, his first departure date, which is around Christmas. Boris will be relieved will be relieved of office around about Christmas. Why? Because the October crisis is coming. You cannot call it an October crisis, you can call it a Halloween crisis. But there will be a crisis in October, and it will be to do with Brexit. And that will be the first departure point. The second departure point, I think, will be about March, maybe April time. Oh, someone, good morning from Hamburg there. So good morning. Join us on this lovely walk today. The second departure point will probably be about maybe like April, May. And you are right, nothing leaves if Boris changes. All it's changing is a change of leadership, really. And the big question is who will replace him, but we'll get to that later, I think. In fact, we'll talk about that after my little third prediction. The third one is that somehow, you've got to remember, Boris has an incredible staying power, where other MPs have done stuff and they've been completely removed from office. So you've got to factor that in. So what if somehow Boris manages to hold on until the next election? But at that point, I think Boris's name will be complete and utter mud. That, hang on, let me get over this. Got to do it very carefully. Oh, nope, 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 nope. There we go. Nope. Oh. Oh, morning. Morning. There we go. But yeah, I really do think that he can't last. I think, well, you say this, the steam has run out of Boris's tank, but you know what? That's been said before. Oh, good morning, someone from Baltimore. Come out to Spain. Spain's not somewhere I've really wanted to go, and that's nothing against Spain, but I've just never felt the need. It's like going to France. I've been to France a couple of times, and I've just never felt the need to go anywhere. I know it's not against anything in the country, but I've never just felt the need to go somewhere to anywhere in Spain. And it's kind of like I got the opportunity last year, 2 years ago, to go to Goa in India, and I'm just like, don't really want to go. Oh, morning. So I've got a list, like I say. You may have heard me a couple of weeks ago saying that I was going to go to Japan. The Japan trip that I had in November. Oh, good morning from Belgium. Someone, I was planning to go to Japan in November. However, because of the virus and everything, like I say, we booked this back in October of last year, and of course back then there was nothing about the virus back then. No one even heard of the coronavirus back then. So my my holiday's essentially been pushed back by about a year. So we're going in November 2021, and yeah, Belgium's somewhere I'd like to go. I'd like to do a beer tour. Come to Germany. Again, I don't know where I'd go. I think that's one of the biggest things when I say about, I've never been to felt the need, because I don't know where I'd go, if that makes sense. I suppose it's when you know about the destination a bit more. I suppose that's where you get the itch to want to travel there and go. Last time I went to Germany was way back in 2013, 2014? But yeah, I went to the JCI conference in Leipzig, and oh my word, the conference was sponsored by Budweiser Budvar, and my word, it's so much beer, so much, and I'll tell you what, I didn't like Budweiser Budvar, and I tell you what, I like that beer now, I'll tell you that. The beer festival, that's something I'd like to actually go to, like the Oktoberfest, and just see that. Oh, hang on. Oh, hang on. I saw someone's comment there. There we go. Since Sargon has a history and destroys what he joins, tends to think of himself and leads a culture war. Oh, hang on. How do you feel about how hypothetical about Sargon as independent idea becoming leader of UKIP? That's my response. Honestly, Sargon as leader of UKIP. To be honest, with the way that UKIP's dying. Oh, hello to someone from America. To be honest, with the way that UKIP is dying, it's not a case of him being voted in the leader. It's just a case of him. There's no one else left to be the leader. But Sargon's already destroyed UKIP. So yeah. Oh, we have fun on this channel. We really do. Yeah, UKIP's never ever going to come back, purely for the fact that it became. Oh, hang on, a lot of wind there, so you might not be able to hear me. UKIP became the Nigel Farage show. And I've talked about this before, that the whole of UKIP was just a machine run for Nigel Farage's ego. And you've only got to look at like behind the scenes reports. A lot of people at the top of UKIP didn't like Farage because it was becoming the Nigel Farage show. But that also played, as I've said before, into his plan of that Farage could not trust anyone else to go on Question Time. If you were to look, like if you were to like judge solely UK politics on Question Time, and on like that's all you want to know about UK politics, you would somehow assume that there were multiple clones of Nigel Farage running in multiple seats. Because why, for example, was Nigel Farage go to like a seat somewhere randomly in the Midlands, like Wolverhampton, when there's already a UKIP office there with a registered MP? Why was he not allowed to go on Question Time? Because that's the point of Question Time. It goes around the country to get the different MPs on the show, so that people can see their local MPs and do that. Now, why was no other local UKIP MP ever allowed on Question Time? It's because they couldn't be trusted. You've only got to look up at the attrition rate of local UKIP councillors, and this was factored in, by the way. If you believe a lot of the stuff that went on behind the scenes, this was factored in by UKIP themselves, that they would know that after the election they would probably lose a certain amount of MPs. Why? Because, well, you've only got to look up UKIP councillor and racism into Google, and you will see the litany of local newspaper reports of councillors losing their position on their local council because they went on, well, racist tirades or put forward very, very racially exclusive ideas and policies. Nigel Farage could not afford any one of those guys going on Question Time and giving the game away. Yeah. Tell you what, we'll do that after we finish about Nigel. So he could not allow a single UKIP other than him to go on there. I mean, you've only got to see of what happened to the BNP back in the day. The BNP had a massive resurgence, and then Nick Griffin got offered somewhat controversially, but you look back at it now and it was like, actually, that was the start of the end of the BNP at the time. So the whole thing just would crashing down if a single other member of UKIP came along and started spouting racist nonsense. There was no way UKIP would survive, or have done anywhere near well if Nigel Farage hadn't tapped in to what we call middle class UK racism. And UK middle class racism isn't about going out and calling someone names. It's all about being very, very sly with your language and how you portray those people with that language. The quintessential one, which there was somewhere there's a blog about a former UKIP Muslim councillor who joined UKIP, and when he went to the conference, he was introduced as, "Oh, it's okay, he's one of the good ones." And that's how middle class racism works in the UK. It's all about being presentable And that's what Nigel Farage brought to UKIP. He was presentable, and he basically said, you know what, I know that the hard right of the Tory party are not fulfilling a lot of their promises. They're not going hard right as I want them to be. And essentially, UKIP was also a vehicle to push the Conservative Party back to being more hard right than Thatcherite. You know, there's a reason why these people are called the children of Thatcher. And we're going to get back onto now. Someone just said about the levels of incompetence in the ruling class. This is a really, really complicated question, because it's not just, oh, there's a plane flying overhead. Oh no, it's a helicopter. It's a really complicated question when you think of, you know, why is someone so incompetent as Boris Johnson in charge? Am I a unionist? Put it. We'll discuss. We'll keep that topic on hold for later, because that's a topic for itself. Hang on. There we go. Down we go. There we go. Get me jumping in, falling in the river. So one of the big things is, you know, how did... Oh, is someone fishing that or no? How did someone like Boris Johnson become so ingrained in politics that he's been allowed? And it's not just Boris Johnson. I mean, you've got to look at someone like Chris Grayling. Chris Grayling generally could not win a rigged election. And that's just one of his many, many failings. And the reason why he's called Failing Grayling. And it's hard because in British society, a lot of like the upper class nonsense is really, really tolerated. There is this sense that, you know, oh, they're upper class and they've got the money. It's that classic failing upwards. You know, that's just how it has happened for years. And we've seen constant people who have been put in government positions who have just failed, have had failure after failure after failure, but because they have connections, and I suspect this is one of the reasons why Chris Grayling has stayed in the party for so long, he brings a lot of money to the Tory party. There is a lot to be said about if you're a failing minister, but you know what? You've got, shall we say, a couple of millionaire backers who are very willing to put money into the Tory party, purely not because of anything else, but because you're there and you're the you're their member of the MP. There is a lot to be said about that, and I think that is the really, really complicated about it. It's unbelievable, but there it is. You know, it's true. Sometimes in politics, some people do just fail up, but there are numerous reasons because of that. Mostly because they're, you know, they bring in a lot of money to the Tory party. Exactly. Jacob Rees-Mogg. Jacob Rees-Mogg has had numerous gaffes that if he'd been in any other party, he'd have been gotten rid of. But because Jacob Rees-Mogg brings in so much money to it, it's unbelievable. And then you talk about, position of responsibility, it's unbelievable. But you've got to think that Jacob Rees-Mogg currently hasn't got he does have a position in the government, but it's not it doesn't grant him a lot of power, shall we say. He's not like, you know, he's not like in charge of anything really. He's just, you know, what's his position? Is it? Oh, not father of the house. That's the oldest MP. Oh, what is it? Oh, mind blank. Yeah, you know the position is. But yeah, he's in charge of sorting out the government's day-to-day de facto business. And in a way, that does give him a lot of power and helping to decide on the direction of the government. But he's not like the Minister for Transport. He's not like the Foreign Secretary. He's not, he's not in charge of all this stuff. But that's the unfortunate area that we're in. That you have these absolute incompetent idiots, and they are completely incompetent. It's just unbelievable, and it really is hard to try and describe why that is the case. I couldn't tell you. The other interesting thing I think would be a good topic of conversation is if Boris does go, who replaces him? Because I think, and I'm going to butcher his name. You know I'm going to butcher his name. Is Rishi, the current Chancellor, stands a good chance of replacing him with the popularity that he's got. And I think the Conservatives would maybe just put him in because he's popular with the plebs at the moment. So we'll put him in, but we'll see when he's having to announce recession stuff in probably a couple of months. The autumn budget this year is going to be very interesting one to watch. We'll see how his popularity is retained through that to decide whether he gets to maintain his position. The other person that could be definitely, I think, could be one to replace him is Michael Gove. I think it would, if you wanted to put money on who would be the next person, and someone said to me, I'm going to put money on Michael Gove, or Michael Gove. I always call, I know people have been getting at me, you've pronounced his name wrong, I know, I can't help it. Michael Gove would be good money. It would be very, very good money. Oh, do I think the SNP would make a mess of independence like Brexit? Oh, well, someone asked me just a moment ago if I was a unionist. So I'm presuming that means, do I want Scotland, England, Northern Ireland and Wales to remain one country? I'm presuming that's what he means by unionist. Put it this way, if I was Scottish, I would not be voting for independence. And that's how I would be. If I was Scottish, I wouldn't be voting for independence. But I'm Scottish, I don't have a horse in that race. But if people of Scotland do want to leave the union, I can't stop them from doing that. Like I say, have the referendum by all means. It's if they leave, it's not my it's no skin off my back. I know that sounds a very callous way to think about it, but someone said, do you think the SNP would mess up independence like Brexit? I've said it on this channel before, and I know I'm going to upset a lot of Scottish nationalists by saying it, but take a lot of the Scottish nationalist speeches about independence, and you replace the term Scottish nationalist with the word Brexit. They sound incredibly similar. I can't lie about that. They do sound incredibly similar. And I think there is a lot of genuine criticism you can lay against the SNP. I mean, these people, you want to say, oh, the Liberals. Remember, it was the SNP who, after Aberdeen voted against Trump's golf course, decided to overturn that decision and get it built, and just and just look how it's turned out. Now, I know a lot of people in Scotland will be looking at this situation that's going on in the UK and go, yeah, I want to get out of it. And that's fair enough. You know, I can understand someone voting for independence because they just want to get out of this horrible, ridiculous situation. I completely agree. I sympathise with them on that. And like I say, if Scotland does go independent, as far as I'm concerned, it's just somewhere else to run to when things start to be up in this country. As I've said a number of times, if the perfect job for me came up in somewhere like Edinburgh, I'd move to Edinburgh in a heartbeat. I really like Edinburgh as a city. I think it's a really good place. I know a lot of people in Edinburgh as well. So I've got friends up there. I know a lot of people in Aberdeen sadly as well, just through my JCI connections. So it's just I'd move to Edinburgh, definitely. It's just right job. Hell yeah, I'd go. And like I say, for those of you that don't know, unfortunately, coronavirus has taken my job, unfortunately. I've been made redundant at the start of effective, Monday. It's unfortunate, but not a lot I could do, really. I mean, the business hadn't been bringing any money in since March. Not a lot I could do. Not a lot I could do, really, about that. Sad I've lost my job, but you know what? I think I've done a lot better than other people when it comes to my situation in some of them. I know one of my friends works for IT for a company, and their entire marketing department got let go right at the start of the whole lockdown. So I know I've done quite well hanging on for this long. In my position. I also know someone else who, after a month of lockdown, she lost her marketing job, and she was in construction. Do you not understand how the Scottish feel? Yeah, I understand, because I'm not Scottish. I'm not Scottish, I'm a Yorkshireman. But I really do sympathise with someone who wants independence, but the grass is always looks greener on the other side until you get it, and then it's a bit more prickly. And like I say, if I was Scottish, I wouldn't be voting for independence. But like I say, I'm not Scottish. I'm a Yorkshireman. I'm always a Yorkshireman first, a European second, and then someone from England third. So no, but you know what? Yorkshire independence. That's what we should start next. True Yorkshire independence. That's what we need. That'd tell you what, an independent Yorkshire would sort the world out. We'd put the world to rights over an afternoon over a pint. Someone think of a topic. But yeah, I think, especially for the coming number of years, I think for my town, Barnsley, we're going to have an incredible number of hard times coming our way. This town unfortunately voted very highly for Brexit, because there has been in this town, even since before Brexit, a very, very anti-Polish section of the town. It does sound very. Like I say, I do have a microphone. It arrived on Friday. Watcher, this was an impromptu stream and I forgot to bring it with me. So next time we do a stream, I will remember my microphone. Yeah, it does have a wind cap, so don't worry. We do have one on the way. It's just that I've forgotten it today. It was I did it. I thought, shall I do a stream this morning? Shall I not? And then I was halfway around and I thought, you know what? I'll do one. So like someone just said there, the attitude towards, the UK government towards Scotland. Yeah, I agree with that. Do you know that Belgium's saying massacre slavery? Yeah, it's unbelievable, but there you go. And that's bizarre. I think there is a very, very big libertarian movement, and it's so bizarre. This whole mask thing that they're protesting against, because I'm just like, what? It doesn't make any sense, but there you go. Yeah, but yeah, if someone said there, Westminster and their attitude to Scotland, you want to talk about attitude to Scotland, what about their attitude to the north? The north of England is one of the most, I think it's one of the most populous places in the UK. It has a lot of potential manpower and manufacturing-based possibilities, but of course that's all going to go post-Brexit. I mean, I don't know if you're going to be able to see them actually in here. So you see these, you see these factories back there, behind there. Massive industrial base back there. All those businesses that are there, all their business, the vast majority of it, is done with Europe. And that should set alarm bells ringing. And I said this to people, a lot of people said, like, someone just said there, the North voted for it. Yeah, the North voted for it because they were lied to on promises that this would somehow revitalise the North. It's not going to do anything of the such. There is a reason, and I think we brought it up before on this channel, but when... I don't know if that's better. Is that better? Or is it still too windy? I don't know. Is it better now? Better? Yeah, okay, so I've essentially got my hand over there. There we go. Yeah, factories. So the big thing about especially northern factories is, compared to like London, is that everyone in London is on the phone to everyone else around the world. They'd be on someone to Singapore, Japan, the USA, whatever, you name it. But in the north, people like at the factories I've just shown you back there are more likely to be on the phone to someone in Amsterdam or Germany. They're more likely to be on the phone to someone in Europe than anywhere else. And to their credit, a lot of the factory owners did stand up and tell their workforce, if you vote for Brexit, we might have to take, serious action. We might not be able to survive. And that's the unfortunate situation. And like I say, a lot of these people have been for years in this town been promised stuff by the government to help this place out and sort this place out. And I've always said and maintained the fact that the problems of this country were never caused by the EU. It was always caused, especially by our government, and especially the Tory government and their policy of austerity. You know, austerity has done more to damage my town than anything else could do. But I suppose we're about to see the consequences of a no deal Brexit, as well as a massive global recession. Those are the consequences that are going to take place and going to happen. And you know, the Tories are in charge, which bizarrely, as I said, is bizarrely a good thing. The Tories have a majority of about 80. They can't blame anyone else. Yeah, that's another good point. The problem of this country are participation and education. You know, if you don't educate people about politics, because people were not educated about the EU, because no one stood up in Parliament and said, hey, these you know, these policies that we're passing are EU policies. These are good policies. This is why we're passing them. This is why the EU is a good thing. This is why it's so good to be in. Those were not you know, no one ever stood up and said that in Parliament. And that's part of it, because, you know, no one did it. This next part is participation. If you've got lots of people in this country that do want change and have been very, very downtrodden over the past couple of years, because, you know, the Tories promised them change. They promised the Northern Powerhouse. Then the only thing we got from the Northern Powerhouse, show some surroundings, please. Oh, there you go. Well, there's no wind. Soviet Russia woods walk through you. That is true, comrade. That is true. The woods do walk through you in Soviet Russia. And that is a big problem. And I think one of the things that we need to take forward is participation. I've always said one of the biggest things to me that always shocked me was when we had the referendum on the alternative vote. Virtually no one turned up to vote in it. And you know, that's the true and shocking thing about I thought this would be a good idea to sit on this log. No, not. Oh no, yes it is. And that's the true and honest thing about, you know, elections in any political system. You have to vote. You have to take part. I mean, I had my when I had my 2 conversations with Count Dankula. He is someone who talks a big game about politics, but then actually knows nothing about it. He doesn't talk about policies. He doesn't talk about the impact of certain policies, how that affects people and how that changes things. And when I talk to him about, you know, he doesn't even know the bare basics of actually campaigning to get stuff changed and policy changes. How are you ever going to change the policy of this country if you don't have MPs saying, yeah, you know what, that's a good idea, we'll support you and we'll back you in that argument? And, you know, he doesn't even understand that basic. And that's the level of political understanding who a lot of people on this channel it would be the you know, a lot of people just don't really seem to understand the political system sometimes in this country. But changing the political system is going to be hard. It's going to be very, very hard, because the Tories are not going to want to go to an alternative vote system. That's generally the truth. We've seen Boris, because the Lords vetoed his law picks recently. They're not going to, Boris is going like, oh, we're going to reform the House of Lords. If we're not careful, we'll never be able to get a true House of Lords reform. And I think the best thing would be a genuine House of Lords reform would be for it to be a proportional representation of the number of votes that parties get. And there are let's just say 600 I don't know what you'd call them. Let's call them senators for the sake of it. So there will be 600 senators, and parties get X amount of the votes, means that they get X amount of senators. It works in other countries. It works in Holyrood. It works in the Welsh one. I can't remember what they call it, the Synod. It works in Northern Ireland. Is Northern Ireland proportional representation? I can't remember now. Yeah, I'm sure it is. And that would be a true change, because first of all, you'd have another house that is a true proportional elective representation. And all of a sudden, the fact that the Tories have an 80-seat majority doesn't matter, because there is a second house that if they try and pass something through or anything like that, then they can stop them in doing that. Or they can just go, we're not going to pass that bill until you do this and this and this. So they can put like different amendments in and send it back to the House, which is what the House of Lords effectively does, and say, we're not going to pass it unless you put X, Y, and Z in. And I think that given the fact that you've seen a proportional representation of what the UK Parliament would look like if elections had been held under proportional representation, the Tories would never be getting more than, I think it's something like 35% of like the total vote. I think the two biggest parties or something randomly like that would end up being like the Liberal Democrats and the Greens. Okay, now that would be a massive sea change in British politics. It would be an unbelievable change in politics. And this is, that's what we really need, I think, going forward. And that's sort of what worries me when Boris says, I'm going to reform the House of Lords. What reforms are those going to look like? What are they going to, could they be even worse? Could Boris be about to eject a load of lords that he considers to be troublesome just to get so that the Conservatives can stack the House of Lords? Because I've said this during this entire Brexit process, I've loved the House of Lords during this entire process. Normally, I'm very anti sort of House of Lords, but I'll tell you what, the fact that we've had the House of Lords throughout this entire Brexit saga has been an absolute godsend, because this has been the only place where actual talk and debate should be on the docket. About charity work, charity work. I think that would be a good idea. I don't think you'd get it through. But yeah, I'd sort of agree to that. And the whole thing about special advisors, I think I've said this before with special advisors. I don't mind the fact that Dominic Cummings is a special advisor. I'm very against all the stuff that he's been doing, and the fact that he is completely unaccountable. There's no way that the MPs can actually hold him to account in Parliament. They have to hold a special board, and then he can just decide not to turn up. So there's no way that he can be held to account. And I think that the idea of special advisors is a good one. Because, for example, what if you need someone, if you're going to reform like the banking sector, and you don't have any knowledge of the banking sector, and you don't have any MPs that have any knowledge of that sector, how can you effectively reform it? You know, if you don't know nothing about a sector and you're an outsider, the chances are you could muck it up to be even worse than it potentially already is. No, that's a true. That could be something that could happen. I think that is something that we should worry about. That's why, yeah, I am for special advisors, but I think these people should be given a seat in Parliament, but they're not allowed to vote, so they can't vote on anything. But if, so let's say an MP stands up, like at question times, and says, questions the government, then they have every right to. Oh, hang on. They have every right to direct that question at the special advisor, and that special advisor should be there to answer that question. So, I tell you what, it was a wrong decision to wear shorts this morning. My legs are absolutely freezing, and they have been absolutely bitten through by mozzies. Yeah, I'll show off my legs. Oh, there you go. There you go. Like I say, someone said a couple of streams ago they didn't think I had any legs, but there you go. So yeah, definitely a wrong decision to wear shorts this morning because the weather has turned. It's cold out here, although it's not too bad. It's just the wind, I think, that's rattling through the pins. Hang on, tell you what, we'll go this way. Yeah. Tell you what, we'll go on a bit of a longer walk today. Walk through the fields, avoid all the cat pats. I know. Oh, hang on. Someone else said that. Someone else said that. I'm taking someone, Jerry, you mentioned. You talk about Trump. Yeah. Okay, that's actually an interesting thing because this is a lot of people again have said because they don't understand American politics, which is fine because I had to look this up myself. So consider this a learning experience because I had one myself. A lot of people have said when Trump said he's going to delay the next election, Trump can actually not delay that election. It is absolutely physically impossible unless Congress agrees with him and they delay the election as well. So unless he can get Congress to vote for postponing the November election, which by the looks of it, he's not going to do that. It doesn't look like Congress agrees with him on that line. So we're looking. So you might say, oh, well, what happens? Well, if Trump says, I'm postponing the election, even if he signed like a presidential, signed one of his infamous presidential bills and said, I'm delaying the election, he actually can't. There is actually nothing he can do. The elections and his cycle, should we call it, is set in stone. So essentially on, what is it, November, is it November? I can't remember now, but it's the day after the elections are held, essentially. Well, would normally be held. His term pretty much officially ends. And at that point, Speaker of the House, is it Speaker of the House? Or am I getting it wrong, or is it the Senate? No, I can't remember if it's the House or Speaker of the House or Senate, but it's the Republican guy, Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell would essentially become president at that point, and Trump and Pence's term would effectively end. That's it, November 5th. So his term effectively ends on November 5th. So even should he delay the elections, he can't actually stay in office. His term is fixed. He actually needs the vote to happen. Now, I think I mentioned I was on a Discord chat with Maximilian Robespierre and a couple of other people recently, and I said the worrying thing you would see in America is the right-wing militias and other right-wing provocateurs actually come in and try and interfere with the election, because we've seen this before. Go back to the Bush-Gore elections. You had postal votes from overseas disappear. You had people like Roger Stone stop recounts from happening by rushing the electoral officers so that they couldn't get the votes out, and that they couldn't continue with another vote. In fact, if you want to see that in action, go watch the Netflix documentary Get Me Roger Stone. He specifically talks about doing that. But everyone unanimously agrees that, looking back, that election had been won by Al Gore. It's just that people on the right wing conspired to essentially steal and get Gore to concede early, essentially. Because as soon as I can't remember how much this is true or not, but I think it's if a candidate concedes the election, then I think at that point that candidate with the most votes wins, or something like that. I can't remember exactly how it works. I may be misremembering it. I may be completely wrong, so I'm sure someone will tell me. But that's the interesting situation in America at the moment. And then you've got the other one. What if Trump decides not to leave? He said that he might actually do that in a conversation with what is it? I can't remember that. The guy from Fox News recently on the patio. And you're like, hold on a second. This guy just said that he potentially wouldn't leave office if he lost the election. Hold on a second. Hold on. That's insane. How on earth, could someone do that? It would be absolutely insane. But there you go. That's the insanity coming soon to America. And I worry. I certainly worry about what could happen in America. I mean, you recently saw the BLM protests. I don't know if you remember, there was the video of the guy in the gas mask, an umbrella, just walking by a store and just smashing in all the windows. Turns out he was a white supremacist trying to stir up trouble. Doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me at all. So that's something, again, if you're in America, that is definitely something you need to watch out for. Right-wing provocateurs trying to infiltrate the protests to try and stir up violence. That is definitely something in America you have to watch out for. yeah, the American military would step in at that point. But, I want to say that they have said that they would remove him at that point. I think the American military would step in. Well, that's the interesting situation you've had for the last 2 years or so. You may heard of a guy called Tim Pool, and Tim Pool is a right-wing American media commentator. He'll disagree and say that he's a centrist, but he's not. He's completely right-wing. Pretty much everything he says, he's pretty much full-on supports tons of right-wing policies. He's a right-winger. He's just playing the grifting I'm a centrist game. Oh, sorry, I might have missed your post then. What was the post that I missed? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you are right, yeah. The 21st, yeah, is the day of transition, so he has to be out by the day of that transition. You have to forgive me, sorry for that. It's sometimes in the comments they appear sometimes very fast, and like I say, I'm not looking at the screen, I'm actually looking where I'm going, because honestly, it's very easy for me to trip on this path I'm on at the moment. But yeah, you are right. The 21st of January, that's the date the transition has to take place by. And if Trump, for any reason, has not decided to go by then that could cause huge problems. And you are right that people like Tim Pool have been, well, geeing up their audience. That's the best way I can think of it, to initiate a civil war. Tim Pool, if you go to his channel and you just type in Tim Pool Civil War, there are a ton of videos of this guy shouting about how there's going to be another American Civil War. And that's the worry, because it's not the military that we have to worry about. It's the right-wing militia and militias out there that support Trump that may decide to walk into these election offices and decide that they are going to be the arbiters of this county's election votes. They might decide that, hang on a second, we're going to make sure this count happens correctly. And they might decide to just storm one of these places and hold everyone in hostage, and then count the votes themselves, and then alter the votes so that Trump gets in. And the worrying thing is you've seen many times in America where, for example, the BLM protesters have been met with absolute unmitigated police violence, but the second a right-wing group or protest happens where they have like guns, or in case you saw, was it Michigan, where they were having the debate on masks and they decided to storm the Capitol building, there was no police response from that. Look at the Ted Bundy situation. They never even went hard. Any other protest type group, the police would have been in there and removed them. But they didn't do it because it was Ted Bundy and it was right-wingers and it was full, and they're being protected by militia groups. And they are absolutely scared. The American police are absolutely terrified of right-wing militia groups because of what happened in Waco in the early 90s. They are really scared of what might happen. And to them I say, well, I'm sorry, but you can't be scared of these people. You need to actually go and take care of them. But there you go. So, oh, hang on. We'll stop for a minute because I think I saw some messages. There we go. Yeah, the hardline Republicans are the ones wanting a civil war. Tim Pool is a prime example. In fact, if you put in, I'm a bit of a history buff, and I've been reading recently a lot about the American Civil War and that type of thing. And it's unbelievable that when you look and you put in American Civil War, you come up with a lot of people proclaiming that the next Civil War is round the corner. You know, get your guns ready for the next American Civil War. That's concerning. And I am not optimistic that the transition of power from Trump to Biden, because it does look like Biden's on the road to winning. I'm not optimistic that transition of power is going to be peaceful. How can the American military police be scared? Yeah, purely for the fact they are worried more about public reaction than what happened. Because in the result of Waco, essentially, not only did they lose and see how a committed right-wing armed organisation could hold out and resist them, they are worried about reprisals, because there were a lot of right-wing terrorist organisations continued in the past of a lot of the people say, aren't the left? They've used this new meme of, aren't the left the ones committing all these terrorist attacks? No, in America at the moment, even especially over here in the UK, it's been very much downplayed by the media and generally the right wing in general, is that they're the ones who always talk about using violence. You go on to a lot of these big right-wing YouTubers, and they salivate when they see these the people in the BLM protests are getting tear gassed, beaten up, pulled off the streets. How many big right-wing YouTubers complained about that happening, of people being abducted, not arrested, abducted into unmarked vans by people in paramilitary uniforms? How many of them actually turned around and said, whoa, you can't do that, that's against the rights of the people of the US? All I'm going to say is it's very interesting, as usual it is. When it happens to the right, it's an absolute travesty. When it happens to the left, it's entirely justified, and those people deserved it. And that's what generally has happened. It's like the whole thing with Antifa. The whole thing with Antifa and them trying to get Antifa branded a terrorist organisation. Well, Antifa doesn't really have a structure. There is no head or leader of it. It's just a group of people organising against, fascism. Who do you think will win the November election? I think Biden's got a very good chance of doing it. I really do. I really think Biden definitely has a chance. And like I say, if I was an American, I'd be a Bernie supporter. I'd be absolutely supporting Bernie Sanders all the way. However, given the fact that obviously Bernie's now dropped out of the race, but by the way, if you are an American and there is still primaries going on in your area, do go and vote for Bernie Sanders, because it's not just Bernie Sanders you're voting for anymore now. It's the progressive politicians, and also getting Biden to capitulate to people on the left and be able to get our ideas through, which is why I've said continuously of people of momentum, doesn't matter who the leader is, as long as you're in there. Oh, squirrel there. As long as you're in there and advocating for your positions and that you've got MPs elected, you can still campaign for your policies to be put into practice. So it's not the end of the world if your guy and leader isn't in charge. So this whole thing of like burning your bust, I'm sorry, is completely ridiculous. I'd be voting for Biden, even though I would love for Bernie Sanders to win. You know, I'd be absolute, okay, Bernie Sanders is out, but I'm still going to vote for Sanders because there's a primary coming up that gives him more delegates and he's able to put more pressure onto Biden to get a lot more progressive platform going. That's how, you know, you do things. Yeah, anyone but Trump. Oh, hang on. An American persons, yeah. It's all the same of. Oh. It all depends on the swing states, and the states that won Trump in 2016 haven't seen the improvements that he promised. So if it's all on things like Michigan, things like that, we'll see. Like I say, I'm not too up on the US politica, shall we say, and how sort of those would affect a lot more of the different things. But again, there we go. So anyway, we're coming to. Oh, hang on, let's get out of here. There we go. So we're coming to the end of our little walk today. Thank you all for joining me on it today. It's been wonderful. How long have we been out there? What, almost an hour and 30? Call it what? I've been out here 2 hours. So anyway, like I say, thank you for joining me. You know, been much appreciated on this lovely walk. I do like to talk about stuff. So, you know, thank you for joining us on this walk. I do have a Patreon page and I have a single news link. If you want to do a one-off donation, you can do. So even just liking and sharing this video will be really helpful to this channel. You know, thank you for any help channel you can give, regardless if it's monetary support or anything like that. Thank you for the live stream. Jump on Discord for a chat at some point. I do keep on meaning to do that. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I'm going to do a live stream with Max Robespierre soon. We're going to do I've suggested that we do like a Sky News type thing where we have a look at, we choose like newspapers or news articles that we've seen for the past couple of weeks, and we go over them. We just discuss them. I did want to call it Saturday Night at the Papers or Friday Night Papers. That's I think that would be a good stream name for it. But yeah, other than that, like I say, thank you for everyone. As you know, I'm terrible at closing streams. So yeah, thank you for that. Like I say, I do have links below if you want to support the channel monetarily. If you don't want to do that, then I have stuff. Like I say, let us know in advance. Yeah, this was just an impromptu stream this morning. It was just out of the middle of nowhere. Yeah, that would be a good idea. Actually, with different bias, because I with Phil, I would like to speak to him. I think, you know, two Yorkshiremen on a channel. I think you're going to get a lot of talk there. But yeah, like I say, thank you for joining me on this walk. We'll see you soon, I'm sure. I will let you know the next time I decide to do a live stream. I'll probably do one next week. I don't know when I'll do one, but I'll do one. But I'll let you know about it in advance. So yeah, thanks for joining me. So we'll see you all soon.